In a quiet village, tucked between lush green hills and thick forest, life moved slowly. Children played by the river, women carried water in clay pots, and men worked tirelessly in the fields. Yet, beneath this calm surface, a rumor spread, one that stirred unease among the villagers. A tortoise, small yet cunning, had been seen in neighboring villages. It was no ordinary tortoise. This one outwitted farmers, stole crops, and disappeared without a trace. Whispers filled the air, no trap can hold it. No guard can catch it. The tortoise is cleverer than any man. For most, it was just a tale to frighten children. But for Kofi, the clever farmer, it became a challenge. Kofi was known throughout the region for his intelligence, patience, and the care with which he tended his crops. While others relied on strength, he relied on observation. And though the tortoise had terrorized neighboring villages, Kofi believed that wisdom, more than force, could outmatch even the craftiest opponent. Kofi's village was small, but it thrived. Thatched roofs glimmered in the morning sun. Chickens wandered freely, and the faint smell of earth mixed with smoke from cooking fires. Kofi himself was a man of simple habits. He rose before dawn, tending to his fields with deliberate care, planting yams, maize, and okra with precise hands. Though his neighbors mocked his meticulous ways, Kofi's crops flourished. Every harvest, he had enough to feed his family and help others. But that year, he noticed something troubling. Strange marks in the soil, he muttered, examining deep grooves near the yam patch. Footprints. No, something smaller. A tortoise shell, broken slightly, glinting in the sunlight. Kofi frowned. The stories were true. A clever tortoise had come to his land. And it wasn't here for play. As the sun dipped low one evening, Kofi spotted movement along the edge of his fields. There, slowly and deliberately, moved a tortoise. Its shell was scarred and patched, a sign of many encounters. Its eyes glimmered with cunning, as though it understood the farmer was watching. Kofi's heart raced, not from fear, but from anticipation. He had long wanted a challenge to test his skills. Small creature, great intelligence, he whispered. You've chosen wisely, or perhaps foolishly, to come to my field. The tortoise stopped and seemed to look directly at him, unafraid. A breeze rustled through the leaves, and for a moment, time itself seemed suspended. The next morning, Kofi prepared a simple trap. He placed a single, perfectly ripe yam in the center of a small clearing, surrounded by carefully arranged sticks and twigs. Then, he hid behind a tree, waiting, his eyes sharp. Hours passed. Birds chirped. The sun climbed higher. And then, slowly, carefully, the tortoise emerged from the shadows, its head raised as if sniffing the air. It approached the yam, pausing, measuring, and calculating. Kofi held his breath. 1 step, 2 steps, and then, suddenly, a bucket of water tipped over from the hidden rope. The tortoise froze, startled, its clever mind reassessing the situation. But instead of fleeing immediately, it studied the trap. And just as Kofi thought he had succeeded, the tortoise nudged the yam sideways with surprising strength, avoiding the worst of the trap, and slowly retreated, leaving Kofi both amazed and concerned. Clever, Kofi muttered. More clever than I imagined. Over the next few days, Kofi observed the tortoise. Each morning, it returned, testing new paths, avoiding obstacles, always seeking the prize. The farmer realized this was more than a simple theft, it was a battle of wits. He began to track its movements, noting patterns. It came mostly at dawn or dusk, approached from the east side of the field, and paused whenever it sensed a trap. Kofi started speaking to himself as he walked. I must think like it thinks. I must anticipate, not just react. Each night, he planned new strategies. He built decoys, placed hidden barriers, and even scattered some yams in false patterns. The tortoise, as clever as it was, had never encountered an opponent so patient, so methodical. The tortoise was not to be underestimated. One evening, Kofi returned from the market to find that his scarecrow had been knocked over. Yams he thought were safe were gone. The tortoise had learned to avoid the obvious traps, finding hidden weaknesses. It had become a silent partner in tension, teaching Kofi more about observation and cleverness than any human could. Every night, Kofi plotted and replotted, and every morning, the tortoise tested him, moving stealthily, sometimes pausing for hours as if taunting the farmer. The village children began to whisper, "The tortoise is more clever than Kofi. He will never win." But Kofi only smiled. Winning, he knew, was not just about the trap, it was about understanding, learning, and turning the challenge to his favor. Finally, Kofi devised a plan that required both patience and ingenuity. He gathered a small wooden cart, filled it with sand, and placed it at the center of the field. Around it, he scattered 4 parts of yams, each more tempting than the last. That night, he left his storage shed slightly open, just enough to invite curiosity. He knew the tortoise would strike when least expected, but this time, the farmer had set a trap not of force, but of intelligence. Under the moonlight, the tortoise appeared. It approached cautiously, assessing the 4 yams, ignoring the cart for a moment. Then, with deliberate care, it tapped the cart, nudged it, and, trap. The sand shifted, collapsing a net around the clever creature. Kofi emerged silently. "You see," he said, "cleverness is valuable, but understanding your opponent is priceless." The tortoise, trapped but unharmed, gazed at him. There was no fear, only acknowledgement. Kofi, though victorious, felt a surprising respect for the tortoise. Instead of punishment, he spoke softly. "You are clever, little one. But your talents are wasted stealing yams. Come, help me protect these fields. Learn with me, not against me." The tortoise tilted its head, considering the offer. In that moment, Kofi understood something deeper. Intelligence without purpose can cause chaos, but guided wisely, it can bring great value. From that day forward, the tortoise became an unlikely ally. It helped Kofi detect pests, alert him to intruders, and even entertain children with clever antics. The villagers marveled at the unusual partnership. Stories of clever creatures and wise humans are common in African folktales. They teach us that brains can overcome brute strength, patience can outmatch haste, and understanding is stronger than force. Kofi's success was not because he trapped the tortoise, but because he observed, adapted, and respected the cleverness of his opponent. In turn, the tortoise learned that cooperation could bring more rewards than mischief ever would. The village remembered this story for generations. Parents told it to their children, even the smallest, slowest creatures can teach the greatest lessons. But wisdom comes to those who observe, learn, and act with patience. So, next time you face a challenge, remember the tale of Kofi and the tortoise. Observe. Think. Plan. And never underestimate those who seem small, slow, or weak. True cleverness is not about outwitting others, but understanding them, and turning challenges into allies. And sometimes, the most unlikely friendships come from the most cunning of rivals. If this story inspired you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to our channel for more timeless African folktales that teach lessons as old as the hills and as fresh as the morning sun. Comment below, which character do you admire most, the clever farmer or the cunning tortoise? Your thoughts might inspire the next story we bring to life.